It's customary to finish every episode of Everyday Science with some food. And today, we're not going to eat magnetic food, but we're going to cook food using magnetism. And I'll show you how we do this. This stove right here, if I turn it on, and I'm going to set this pan on top of it, it turns out this pan is made out of iron. And the way that it cooks food is this. There's a changing magnetic field from the base. And then what that does is it magnetizes and then demagnetizes the pan. And so it's rapidly flipping around the spins inside here. And it turns out that makes the pan get warm. If you put your hand near it, but don't touch it, you can sense there's heat coming off it. And the heat is transmitted to the pan not by conduction, like a normal stove would be, but by magnetism. And we can prove it by doing this. I'm going to take this piece of paper, check this out, and put it under the pan. And we can cook through a sheet of paper. Here's what happens to the sheet of paper. It's fine.
Wow!
And we're actually able to cook through the pan because it's not the heat that's going from the stove. The energy is being transmitted from the stove to the pan by what?
Magnetism?
By the magnetism. By the magnetism. It's a changing magnetic field that causes this thing to cook. And the paper doesn't particularly get warm. But you know what does get blackened?
The
grilled cheese. Oh, yes. And so the grilled cheese is cooking and the paper is not. And that's because the energy is not being transmitted as heat. It's being transmitted as magnetism. High five. And we're going to let this finish cooking. And then we're going to take this and we're going to slice this up and we're going to serve it. And I think we're done. I think we're ready. So this is a grilled cheese sandwich that was cooked with magnetism.
Yep.
Brilliance. And I can't think of any better way to finish the magnetism show than having food that was cooked with magnetism. And I have a piece for each of you. And it's a little toasty because we got that thing pretty magnetically warmed up. So we'll let that cool off a second.
Okay.
But I want to do two last things. First off, I want to say thanks to Taylor, thanks to Bailey for joining us in this episode of Everyday Science. And I want to invite folks to see us again. We're going to look at more ways where science is part of your life. Thanks very much for joining us in this episode of Everyday Science. And I say we dig in.